Alex, I used to think my eyesight was failing me because I was getting seasoned like a good cast iron skillet. But I realized this morning, while trying to read a tape measure in the dark, that I've just been working in a cave for 20 years.
Seasoned? Tiger, you were literally using your phone flashlight to check a dovetail joint yesterday. It looked like a noir film in here. I half expected a private eye to walk in and ask about a missing Maltese falcon.
It's the atmosphere, Alex. Very moody. But honestly, I spent 3 hours yesterday chasing a shimmy in a tabletop that wasn't actually there. It was just a weird shadow cast by my drill press. I've reached the point where I'm tired of fighting my own eyeballs.
Well, it's about time. We are diving deep into workspace lighting today because apparently working in a dungeon isn't a valid ergonomic strategy.
It really isn't. And it's not just about seeing the line you're cutting, it's the headaches, man. That dull throb right behind the eyebrows after 4 hours of squinting. That's not just the coffee wearing off, that's your brain screaming for a photon or two.
Much better. So, where do we even start? Most people just go to the big box store, grab the cheapest shop light that plugs into the ceiling, and call it a day.
And that's exactly how you end up with the big light syndrome. That single, harsh overhead that makes everything look as flat as a pancake and twice as yellow. If you want a shop that doesn't feel like a high school cafeteria, you've got to think in layers.
Layers, like an onion or a very expensive cake?
Exactly, except instead of frosting, we're using light. You need your ambient light. That's your general don't trip over the air hose illumination. Then you need task lighting, which is the focus beam that actually lets you see the tiny splinter you're trying to dig out with a chisel. And if you're feeling fancy, accent lighting to make your finished pieces look like they belong in a gallery.
Okay, let's break down the ambient layer first. I saw a study from the Center for Performance at Work. Yeah, I do my homework. That says lighting is a huge factor in how much you actually get done. If it's bad, 68% of people complain about it.
Only 68? The other 32 must be working outside. Look, for the big overhead stuff, the debate used to be between fluorescent and LED. But honestly, unless you enjoy that ghostly hum and the way fluorescents take 10 minutes to wake up when it's freezing in the shop, LED is the only path.
Tell them about the flicker, Tiger.
Oh, the strobe effect. There is nothing quite as disorienting as a fluorescent bulb that's on its last legs. It creates this weird pulse that'll make a spinning table saw blade look like it's standing still. That's a one-way ticket to the emergency room. LEDs are instant on, they don't care if it's 10 degrees out, and they don't turn your shop into a disco.
So we go LED, but then you get into the numbers. Lumens, kelvins. It sounds like a physics final.
It's simpler than it looks. Think of lumens as the muscle, how much raw light is being shoved out. Kelvins? That's the mood. If you get bulbs in the 2700K range, your shop is going to look like a cozy pub. Great for drinking cider, terrible for seeing if your finish is leveling out.
So we want the hospital white ones?
Not quite. If you go too far, like 6000K, everything looks blue and sterile. It's like working inside a refrigerator. The sweet spot for a maker is usually around 4000 to 5000 kelvins. It's crisp, it's white, and it mimics natural daylight without making you feel like you're about to perform surgery.
Speaking of daylight, the guide from Posturite says we should be using windows whenever possible. But my shop is in a basement. My natural light is a window well full of dead leaves.
Yeah, the spare bedroom office folks have it easy. But natural light is a double-edged sword. If you've got a window right behind your computer monitor or your lathe, you're dealing with glare. That's the real enemy. It's like trying to read a book with someone pointing a mirror at the sun.
So you're saying position the desk or the workbench perpendicular to the window?
Exactly. You want the light hitting the work, not your retinas. And if you can't move the bench, get some blinds. Being able to throttle the sun is a major pro move.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Task lighting. That's the stuff that makes me feel like a pro.
This is where the magic happens. You can have all the overhead LEDs in the world, but if your head is between the light and the chisel, you're working in your own shadow. Task lighting is about getting the light under your eyebrows.
I noticed you have magnets on a few of those.
Oh, I'm a sucker for a magnetic base. I can slap a light on the side of the bandsaw, move it to the drill press, then stick it to a cast iron table. It's about chasing the shadows away. You know what they say? If you can't see the gap, you can't close the gap.
I don't think they say that, Tiger. I think you just said that.
Well, they should start saying it. It's accurate.
One thing the DIY playbook mentioned was color rendering index, or CRI. I always ignored that on the box. Does it actually matter?
It matters if you care what color your project actually is. CRI is a scale from 0 to 100. High CRI, like 90 or above, means the light shows colors accurately. If you're staining a piece of cherry and your lights have a crappy CRI, it might look perfect in the shop, but once you bring it into the client's living room, it looks like a fermented orange.
I've seen your fermented orange face. It's not a good look.
It was a dark time, Alex. A very dark, poorly lit time. I had these cheap shop lights that made everything look slightly green. I thought I was losing my mind.
Okay, so we've got LED bulbs, 4000K to 5000K temperature, high CRI, and layers. But how many? If I put 20 lights in my garage, am I going to blow a circuit?
That's the beauty of LEDs. You can practically run a whole stadium off one outlet. But the trick isn't more power, it's better placement. If you just have one row of lights down the middle of the room, you're going to be working in your own shadow every time you stand at a bench against the wall.
So, perimeter lighting?
Bingo. Run your lights over the edges of your work surfaces. You want the light coming from slightly in front of you and to the sides. It wraps around the workpiece. It's like giving your wood a warm hug of photons.
A photon hug. You're getting poetic in your old age.
Hey, when you've spent as much time as I have squinting at a splinter, you start to appreciate the little things. And don't forget the momentary blindness factor.
Is that like when I look at your Hawaiian shirts for too long?
Har har. No, it's when you go from a super bright bench to a dark corner to grab a tool. Your pupils are doing gymnastics trying to adjust. That's when you trip over the shop vac or knock over a gallon of lacquer. Keeping the whole space relatively even prevents that tunnel vision fatigue.
You mentioned something earlier about aesthetics too, making the shop look done.
Yeah, it's not just about utility. If your shop feels like a cold, concrete box, you're not going to want to spend 10 hours in there. Throwing a few warm accent lights on your tool rack or a dimmable strip under a shelf, it makes the space inviting. It makes you feel like a craftsman instead of a factory worker.
So, what's the one thing people should do this weekend if they're tired of their dungeon shop?
Stop settling for good enough. Go out and get a single, high-quality, adjustable task light for your main workbench. Just one. Position it so it kills the shadows on your marking gauge. Once you see the difference, literally, you'll realize that light isn't just a utility bill. It's the most important tool in your chest. If you can't see the work, you can't do the work.
Spoken like a man who finally found his tape measure.
I actually found 3 of them once the lights were on. Turns out I wasn't losing them. They were just hiding in the shadows.
That's Tiger Den for today. Go brighten up your world, folks.